I'm Derrick Pitts, Chief Astronomer at the Franklin Institute Science Museum in Philadelphia, your cool astronomer, back with a great program for PA tourism. It's their great escape to the universe. Tonight we're going to talk about the Perseid Meteor Shower. The Perseid Meteor Shower is one of those events of the sky that happens every year at the same time that almost everybody can participate in because it's such an easy observation to make. You don't need a telescope, you don't need binoculars, nothing like that, just a good sky, an open sky, so that you can go out and take a look. The Perseid Meteor Shower happens, as I said, same time every year. It peaks in August, I should say. It does peak in August. It starts in July, ends at the end of August. And right around this time of the month, somewhere between August 11th and August 13th, we reach the peak of the meteor shower when you can see the greatest number of meteors per hour as you're out observing under the evening sky. So tonight's the night, folks. Hopefully it's clear where you are. Down here in Philadelphia, the sky's not so bad. It's a little murky because it's been warm and humid here, and we have some cloud layers, but I'll bet in other parts of the state, things are looking much, much better. So hopefully you'll have an opportunity to get out and take a look at the evening sky and look for the Perseid meteors. Again, this program is being brought to us by PA Tourism. Visit PA. That's where you are on the Visit PA Facebook page, I hope, watching this program. And if you like, you can actually take your smartphone outside and follow along as we walk you through the evening skies and describe the Perseid meteor shower to you. We want to make sure you have all the information you need to understand meteor showers and enjoy meteor showers. Even if the sky is not great where you are tonight, or you can't be out observing, you'll be able to still catch Perseid meteors tomorrow night, the next night, and the next night, and you'll still need this information to know where to look, when to look, what to look for, and how to actually go about doing this observation. Believe it or not, while you don't really need equipment for this, it really helps if you have a certain kind of setup to make this an enjoyable experience. So that's what we're going to do here, is describe all of that. As well, we're also going to tell you about the other objects that are available to be seen in the summer skies this year. We have some really unique topics, really unique targets, there we go, that you'll be able to see really, really easily. We'll also even include some information and targets for some of the folks that have a small telescope that you might like to use, but we want to emphasize that this doesn't require any skill base, really. You can be a rank beginner or you can be an advanced amateur. We're still welcoming you to our program this evening, and we want to make sure that you understand that you can do this on your own without any equipment. Astronomy really is a great activity that you can do under the beautiful rural skies of Pennsylvania. Astronomy and sky observing is relaxing, it's soothing, and it can provide an escape from, the tensions of our new reality. It's always nice to just go out and sit under a nice summer sky and enjoy the warm temperatures and enjoy the sky as it goes from sunset into dusk and into night, when you can see the stars begin to appear in the sky. And I'm sure almost everybody loves something about the night sky. You don't have to be an astronomer, professional astronomer, to enjoy the night sky. Maybe it's just looking at the star patterns. Maybe it's looking at the moon. Maybe it's looking at planets. Whatever it is that you really like about observing the night sky, we want to help to enhance the knowledge you already have with a little bit more information and context to help put things together for you so that you can understand. We also want you to share this with your family and with your friends. That's the other cool thing about astronomy. In this age right now of quarantine due to COVID-19, this is a great sort of activity that you can do with your family in your own backyard, out on your own front steps, right in your neighborhood. You can even figure out how to do this as a socially distanced activity with groups of families in a neighborhood, perhaps. So that's something else to think about, some activity to do. Now that you've seen every episode of Star Trek and every episode of Mission Impossible, and you've streamed everything that's available to stream, you've done all the jigsaw puzzles, you're looking for something else, here's a great thing to do. Get outside and enjoy the evening sky. The other cool thing about it is that astronomy has elements of science, mythology, art, history, and philosophy. So no matter what your discipline is or how you'd like to come at this, there's an aspect of this for you too. So hang tight and we'll get to all that. So tonight, Here's what we're going to do. Remember, more than anything else, go at your own pace with astronomy. If you're just getting started, you don't have to learn it all at once. You can learn it little bits at a time. We're going to make sure you know everything you need to know about the Perseid Meteor shower, what planets are visible, what constellations are visible, and what's great to see around the state. I have 4 really wonderful guests, my astro colleagues that are joining me tonight, that are going to help you understand what you can see in that region of the state where they're from, and also give you an idea about the kinds of astronomy resources that are available in your portion of the state. So we've got the northeast portion of the state covered, we've got the central portion of the state covered, we've got the western and the northwest corner of the state covered. We've got everything covered. We've got a couple of observatories here, and we've got a couple of astronomy clubs as well. So we'll be able to provide you with all that information. My guests will be on a little bit later. We'll chat with them about their favorite thing to see in the night sky and the resources that are found in their particular region. So as you also know, there are really great resources around the state. There are a number of state parks that will provide excellent views of the night sky after dark. Now, we might not be able to do it right now because of the COVID quarantine stuff, but once this is all over, Pennsylvania state parks are great places to go, not just for the daytime activities, but for the nighttime stuff that you can do as well. And I know some of my guests will talk about parks that they like, ones that they know in their region, and we'll also describe them. We also have a list of those parks that are available to you at the Visit PA website as well. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Also, hey, you have questions about astronomy? Bring them on. What kind of questions do you have? What did you always want to ask an astronomer? Something you saw in the night sky, something you'd like to learn about, something like that. Throw us your questions. We'll try to get to them this evening, and if we don't, we'll get to them a little bit later after the program. So let's get started first with sky phenomena. Just to give you an understanding of where we are right now, we're going to do the sunrise, sunset, moonrise, moonset, things like that. Okay, so let's get started. Here we are right now, August 11th, Tuesday, August 11th. Sunrise is now coming at 9 minutes after 6 in the morning. You know, back about a month and a half ago, sunrise was coming at 5:35 in the morning. So there's been quite a change. Sunrises are now coming later. And as you already know, sunsets are coming earlier and earlier. About a month and a half ago at the summer solstice, sunsets were coming at 8:35 in the evening. Now sunset is 8:02 p.m. So it's getting darker earlier. A little bit better for sky observing, but you know what? We're starting to lose some of that great light that we had during the course of the summer. In the middle of the summer, actually, about 15 hours is the number of hours of daylight that we have right around the solstice. We've already lost 1 hour and 7 minutes since then, and we'll continue losing minutes of daylight as we head on toward the autumnal equinox, and eventually, dare we even say it, the winter solstice. Yes, but that's out there in the distance. Let's keep enjoying summer for right now. The moon is now in its last quarter phase. It's about 22 days old. That means new moon is going to be coming up pretty quickly. Next Tuesday, in fact, but moonrise is an important piece of the story about the Perseids. The moon rises tonight, actually early tomorrow morning, at 12:14 a.m. 12:14 a.m. What this means is, it means that we're going to have some bright light from the moon, or some light from the moon, over on the eastern side of the sky between midnight and sunrise. You'll understand why that's important in just a moment. Moonset comes tomorrow afternoon at 2:42 in the afternoon, so we don't have to worry about that. As I mentioned before, we have great planets to see this month and great constellations as well. We'll talk about those a little bit. And there are also some really cool constellations that are available. So let's get to that now. We want to set you up with the night sky so you can understand the layout a little bit. Then we'll jump into the Perseids and we'll be off from there. So I'm just going to reach out over here. I'm going to grab my laptop, pull it right over here. If you'll give me just a moment to get reoriented here. Make sure my cables aren't causing, oh, hey, there we are. Okay, good. Okay, folks, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump out to this really wonderful program that I like to use. So I'm going to share my desktop out here. Please don't read any of my email or anything like that while we're out here. Thank you very much. And I'm going to use this really wonderful program that I like to use, that I recommend if you're looking for something that you can use as a star map on your laptop computer, on your desktop computer at home. Here's something called Stellarium Web Online. I really enjoy using Stellarium Web Online because it gives a beautiful rendition of the sky. So as you can see here, hopefully you can see my sky here now. And over on the very far left, you can see all the, the add-ons that you can purchase, and we're going to get rid of those. So let me just give you a quick orientation here for what we have in this particular program. So you can see what looks like a star field out in the center of the screen there, with a dark horizon out there as well. And I'm going to make a few adjustments. I'm going to pull this down. You'll notice I'm just using my cursor to manipulate everything. This is a really easy program to use. It's online, so it's free to use. I think it works pretty well. So down here, right in the center, you'll see the letter N for the direction north. Around here on the right side, E for east. Over here, W for west. Now, I really want to reorient us right now so that we're looking toward the southern sky. So all I have to do is just click with my cursor and drag. Very familiar operation for everybody. And I can pull us right around here. And you can see I now have us placed so that we're looking out into the summer sky. I'm also going to pull us in a little bit, just about like that. Reduce the field of view. Just a bit, just a bit. There we go. So here's one of the things that's really cool about this particular program that I really like. You can see a lot of dots out in front of you, I'm sure. And you can even see the Milky Way running right across the sky here. Oh, the Milky Way, by the way, that's the edge of our galaxy. As we see it from where we are, we're actually looking in toward the center of the galaxy, looking in this direction kind of. And so what we're seeing here is the combined light of some of the billions of stars in our galaxy as we look across the arms of our galaxy. If I wanted to look right down toward the center of our galaxy, I'd look in this region right down around here. That would be around toward the center region. And what looks like places that don't have very many stars, there's really great clouds of gas and dust out in our galaxy that are blocking light from the billions of stars behind them. So this Milky Way path arcs up across the top of the sky out toward the northeast. And you can actually follow along with that from the northeast down into the south here without too much difficulty. So here's a couple of features I really like that work out really well. If I find a star I want information about, all I have to do is place my cursor on the star, click on that. I said place my cursor on the star, click on that, and you can see I have information in my top left-hand corner about that star. Everything I want to know that's pretty useful right now, distance, magnitude, spectral type, all those sorts of things. And you can do that with any of the stars that are out here. So it doesn't matter which one I pick, as long as I'm patient enough for it to come up, you can see that the information for the stars comes up just like that. So I can easily pick up that information. Now, here's something else that's really cool is I can actually put some lines between the stars so that you can see the shapes. Now, here we go. We're going to throw some of these up. I'm going to put my constellations up right now. And here we go. We can see now the names of the constellations and the constellation outline of those particular groups of stars. So right now, what I wanted to show you is one particular band of constellations that runs right across the lower portion of the screen here. If you'll follow my cursor, maybe some of these are familiar. Aquarius, Capricornus, Sagittarius, Scorpius, Libra, and Virgo. Hopefully you recognize all of those as names that come from the zodiac group of constellations. You might recognize them as names of constellations that go with horoscopes, that go with astrology. Well, they are really astronomical names that go with these particular constellations. And these constellations are important because these constellations in this group right along here, these are part of a group of 12 constellations, by the way, and we're looking at 6 of them right now. Well, that whole circle of constellations of the zodiac group marks the path of the sun, moon, and planets across the sky. So as you look at the view here, you can see there's Jupiter, there's Saturn, and somewhere strewn along the line, going all the way around the sky, are all the other planets as well. There's actually a planet right in between Jupiter and Saturn. We'll talk about that later. So now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to swing us around a little bit, around into the eastern sky, just like this. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because around in this direction is the direction from which the Perseid meteors will appear to emanate. So they will seem to come from a point over in the constellation Perseus. Perseus isn't above the horizon at this time, which you'll note is right down here in my lower right-hand corner. I have my date and my time, and it shows this as 2100 hours, 20 minutes. So this is like military time. So it's 9:20 in the evening. That's what the sky is set for, 9:20 in the evening. And of course, we can adjust this. So this is a really cool program you can use to help you find your way around the night sky. All right, so there's some basics about what's out there. Certainly there's more. There are other great constellations that can be seen in the sky. And I'm sure we'll have a chance to talk about a group that's called this Summer Triangle that's almost overhead right now. But let's get to that later, because right now I'd like to jump off and give you the information you need about the Perseid meteors. That's the reason why you're here after all. So let's close this guy down here, and we'll jump out over here to this portion of my screen where I have this program I'm going to run through really quickly for you about the Perseid meteors. So tonight, the peak of the Perseid meteor shower. This shower always happens at this time of the year, every year. Always the same date, August 11th to August 13th is the peak of the shower. Starts in July, ends in late August. So this time of the year, that's the time to see that. So I always get questions from people, somebody calls me on the phone or sends me an email at least once a year asking, hey, you know what? I can't remember when the Perseid meteor shower is. Can you tell me when it is again? Yeah, it's always August 11th to 13th. It's like somebody going to the dollar store and asking for a price check. We know what price things are in the dollar store. So Perseid meteor shower, same way, always the same time of year. All right, let's get rolling here. So let's talk a little bit about space dust. Here's what our neighborhood looks like. Well, almost. Here are some of the denizens of our solar system. Some of the members of our solar system. We have the sun over on the far left, and you can see the planets lined up there, Mercury, Venus, Earth, all the way through out to Neptune. And then you have this group of objects down here. Plutoids is a term that was used a little while ago to describe planets that were out, or objects that are out beyond Pluto, away from the sun. But now we've recognized Pluto instead as a dwarf planet along with the asteroid series. So this is just to give you an idea of some of the things that are out there. By the way, this is not to scale, so the planets all seem squished up really close. They're not like that in real life at all. But our solar system is filled with dust. Dust comes from asteroids and dust comes from comets. And it's the comets that we're really interested in more than anything else. Sometimes people confuse asteroids with comets. Here's a graph that shows you a little bit of the difference between asteroids and comets, not according to composition, but according to size. We'll talk about composition in just a moment. But in this image, right up here, from this big guy here on over to the left, these are all objects that are asteroids. Asteroids are actually fragments of planets that existed in the early history of the solar system, and those planets broke up in the early history of the solar system. And so the parts and pieces are still flying around the solar system in various orbits. They're not comets. They're different. They're parts of planets that used to exist that broke up. Comets, on the other hand, you'll see them down in the lower right-hand corner. These actually are frozen balls of ice, gas, and dust, all frozen together, originally created in the early history of the solar system. It's really just a ball of frozen carbon dioxide with a little bit of water mixed in, but lots and lots and lots of dust left over from the beginning of the solar system, from the formation of the solar system. Now, when you think about comets, am I talking about something like this? Well, that's a pretty nice looking comet, but it's a 64 Mercury comet, not the kind of comet we're thinking of. We're thinking of something like this, real comets, the frozen balls of ice and gas that take an orbital trip around the center of the solar system. And when they come in and are warmed up by the radiation of the sun, the radiation melts the nucleus of the comet, and the dust can then melt out of that ice and stretch out in the tail behind the comet, like you can see in these images right here. These are comets from a couple of years ago. I just thought it was a really nice picture showing these two comets at once. And so I just threw that in. Here's another comet from a little bit earlier, Comet McNaught. And Comet McNaught had a really bright tail and a very, very pronounced tail, but it was only visible in the southern hemisphere. We couldn't see it very well up here in the north. So if you were down south, you got a really great view of this. But you can see where the nucleus is, and you can see where the tail spreads out. And all of that tail extension is due to radiation coming from the sun, melting the nucleus and pushing this material out behind it. Well, there's also dust like this called zodiacal light. This is dust that's in the solar system, strewn along the orbital path of the planets, illuminated by the sun, that you can see at certain times of the year. So It's not just under our beds. There's dust everywhere in the solar system. In this particular instance of the Perseid meteors, we have dust that comes from a particular comet. Here's a map of where you're going to view in the evening sky. Now, this shows Perseus above the eastern horizon, northeast horizon at about 11 p.m. I recommend that you go out and start looking for Perseids as soon as the sky starts to get dark. You might not be able to stay up all night long because, as it turns out, the best time to view meteors is between midnight and sunrise the next day as the Earth is turning into the stream of meteors. But if you can't stay up that late, it's best to start as soon as the sky gets dark. You'll see some meteors right now. So there's no reason why you have to wait until midnight to get started. You can actually start now. Now, they'll look like bright streaks of light zipping across the sky. And as you can see here from this graphic, it seems as if these objects are coming out of the constellation Perseus. That's not the case. It's just where the stream happens to be in the sky. And what do I mean by stream? Well, first of all, what's the comet? It's Comet Swift-Tuttle. Comet Swift-Tuttle is a periodic comet that comes around the solar system every once in a while. It was last here in the late 1990s. And it won't be back again for a little while. I can't remember the number off the top of my head right now. We'll see if we can get that information for you as we go along. But as that material has melted out of the nucleus, it has stretched itself out along the path of the comet. And every year, the Earth passes through that stream of material, and we experience the meteor shower. So there's one graphic of what it looks like. Let me go back. Hello, there we are. And there's another graphic of what it looks like. Here's the comet's orbit, and we essentially cross the stream. And when we cross the stream, that's when we have the showers, okay? All right, so here's what we'd like to see. Wow, wouldn't it be great if we could see hundreds of meteors per hour falling into the sky like this picture shows? Well, this is a time-lapse image, so it really won't look quite like that. It would be great if we could see it like this too, with beautiful northern lights. But we'll only get that if we're far enough north and the sun is active enough for us to catch meteor showers during an aurora borealis. So here's more like what we might see. Maybe the sky isn't quite so beautiful, but these bright streaks zipping across the sky. You know, we used to sometimes call these falling stars or shooting stars, but we know that stars don't fall and stars don't shoot. What we're actually seeing are the meteors falling into the Earth's atmosphere. Now, what are they really? Well, these meteors are about the size of sand grains. Most people think they're big hunks, but for the most part, they're really just about the size of sand grains, maybe a little bit larger. So why do they make such a bright streak? Well, as they plunge into the Earth's atmosphere, they enter with such a high velocity that they tend to heat all of the air around them as they plunge in. That energy transference from the incredible velocity heats the air, makes it glow, and that's the streak we see. Now, as that plunge continues, the energy is dissipated, it slows down, and that little piece of dust then drifts down to the surface of the Earth. That's why you only see it for a very brief period of time. So if you're out looking, if you're looking all around the sky, you can catch somewhere between between 60 and 90 Perseid meteors per hour. That's not bad because the normal background rate for meteors in any night sky is only 10 per hour. So this is 6 to 10 times greater than that. So if you have the opportunity, you can go out and see it. If you're out someplace where the sky is really dark, maybe you can catch something like this with a camera to get the number of streaks you might be looking for. Perseids come down through the atmosphere at about 35 to 40 miles up, and they come in at a speed of about 45,000 miles per hour. So our sky at night, not very dark around the region where we are, but we can find some dark holes in some places. And the best bet for us is to get out someplace where the sky is clear and dark, where we can see some of this space dust. So here's what you need to know for what you're going to do if you're out looking. You want good weather, minimum cloud cover, dark skies, away from bright lights, no moon if you can make that happen, if it turns out that way. Right now, the moon is going to rise at 12:14, so we'll have a little bit of moonlight after midnight. So toward the morning, you might have a little bit of extra. But here's what you need: lounge chairs, dessert, music, friends, no telescope. Well, unless you have a small something that you want to use, but it's not going to be for looking at the meteors because this is something you want to be able to view the entire sky so you can look all around. You want friends with you so you can look around different areas of the sky and you want some entertainment, because really, this should be about being out under the sky, enjoying a nice evening, and there happens to be a meteor shower happening at the same time. As opposed to going out specifically for the meteor shower, take some other elements with you to help make it a full evening. Now, if anything bigger does happen to fall down to the surface of the Earth, as has happened in the past, well, you could get a big crater like this. 50,000 years ago, a large object fell down to the surface of the Earth and created this big hole out in Arizona, a mile across and about a quarter of a mile deep. And this is a well-known meteor crater, easily seen in northeastern Arizona. It'd be nice if we could find stuff really easily from big meteor showers like this. And if only it was this easy to pick up something that was really valuable, wouldn't that be great? By the way, I just lifted this picture someplace because as you can, if you look at that little hunk there, it's probably not a meteorite, probably more like a hunk of coal. So looking around the skies tonight, you're going to be looking for the Perseid meteors, and you should be able to see them if your skies are clear and dark and you have a good opportunity to get someplace where you can see and your skies are clear. So that's what you need to know for the Perseid meteor showers. Easy to see. You can catch them without too much difficulty. If you can't do it tonight, you'll have some other opportunities during the rest of the week. Okay, so if you have questions about that, please let us know. I'm sure we're going to talk about it more. But right now, I want to bring our guests on board so we can start talking about observing Perseid meteors in their region of the state and those objects that they think are great for amateurs to take a look at if you're out under the evening sky, as well as what the resources are around their region. So please join me in welcoming first up this evening, Roxanne Kamen. Roxanne Kamen is from the Astronomical Society of Harrisburg. And welcome to the program tonight, Roxanne. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you, Derek, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to everyone. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight. As mentioned, I'm Roxanne, and I'm with the Astronomical Society of Harrisburg. I bet if you lived in Harrisburg, you didn't realize that we actually have an observatory just south of the city for all of us to enjoy. This is our little poster here, the Astronomical Society of Harrisburg. You can look at us online at hbg.org. Now, tonight, everybody would like to take a look at the Perseids, but it's a little early still in the evening. So I'd like to invite you to go outside and instead of looking north toward Halifax, look south toward York, up in the sky, and you're going to see a bright star. But actually, it's not a star, it's a planet. And it's the planet Jupiter. And it's big and bright. And I'm sure you kind of saw it on the map that Derek showed a little bit earlier. And Jupiter is our biggest planet in our solar system. And if you have a pair of binoculars, you can go with a big set of binoculars, but they may be a little heavy. So consider that when you buy binoculars. Or I like using these image stabilizer binoculars. You can hold them for a long time. They have image stabilization on it, and they're very comfortable and they pack very well. So go outside, get your lawn chair, set it up, look to the south, and put your binoculars up on Jupiter and take a look. Now, if you have real steady arms, or maybe prop yourself up on a table, or maybe on the hood of the car or something, you might actually see 4 little dots of light next to Jupiter. And those are actually the 4 Galilean moons that Galileo discovered back in the 1600s. So when you're looking at Jupiter and you see those 4 little dots, you're looking at Io and Ganymede and Europa and Callisto, which are the 4 Galilean moons. And they're very interesting to watch because they change places very quickly. If you look at the 4 moons tonight and then tomorrow night, they'll be in different places as they circle Jupiter. Jupiter is also a lot of fun to look at in a small telescope. If you get a chance, take a look at it, because one thing Jupiter does is it spins very, very fast. While our day goes in 24 hours, Jupiter, it only takes about 10 hours to spin around. And you can actually watch that big red spot traverse the front of Jupiter. Go look at it now at 9 o'clock, come back at 11, you'll actually see it move across the face. So after you're done watching Jupiter, if you look in the sky, take your fist, put it out put it out at arm's length, go from Jupiter to about 8 o'clock, and look in that area, you'll see another very bright star. But that's not a star, that's the planet Saturn. Yeah, Saturn is very close to Jupiter tonight. You can see them both very easily. Now, you won't be able to see the rings of Saturn unless you have a small telescope. So, you know, we invite you to come on up to Naylor some night. Bring your telescope. We do have some telescope learning how to use your telescope nights. We do have public observation nights about 4 times, you know, every once a month, and we're open to the public. We also host Cub Scouts. We also have visitations by classes and such. So we will help you learn how to use your telescope. So, you know, put your telescope on Saturn, take a look at it. Later on at night, as the moon starts coming up, you'll see another red dot come up in the sky, and it'll be a pretty red dot. And those of you think of red, you think, what planet is red? That's going to be Mars. So Mars is also going to come up. And as mentioned earlier, all the planets follow the same path, the same ecliptic in the sky. So once you find Jupiter, you can find Saturn, and then you can find Mars. And of course, the moon will be rising up a little bit later this evening toward midnight, and we'll let Timothy talk about that. But this other poster here, a lot of people ask me about, is Tony the Bear and our mascot for the Cherry Springs Star Party. Cherry Springs is a very special place in Pennsylvania. It's a dark sky spot. It's up in Potter County, and it's one of the darkest spots on the East Coast. So if you're looking for a dark sky place to go, make a trip. It's a state park. The park's divided into 2 sections. One section is open to the public. You can bring your family, you can camp. It's an old airport, so there's plenty of room up there for people to visit. The other side of the park, however, is an astronomy field, and you must be doing astronomy and have a telescope, and there are very strong rules about no white lights and no access after dark. So if you go visit and you got your family and you're up there for a great night of observing, I invite you to go on over and stay at the public observing site. You know, go to one of the shows with the Rangers, enjoy, and that's beautiful dark skies.
Very cool.
So instead of traveling that far, you know, drive out on, if you're on the east side of town, drive out on 39 out of Lingostown to Hershey. Look at the fields. Look for any type of open sky area what's kind of dark. Look towards the north. Again, the Perseid meteor shower, they're going to be toward the north. They're going to be towards Halifax. Find a field. Take a look. Look in the sky. If you're in the Camp Hill area, take a ride west. Go out Wartsville Road. Find some dark sky areas there. You know, sit back, take your binoculars, catch the skies. And again, as mentioned, you know, sit in your own backyard, you know, take the lawn chair, set it out, relax, get some friends, you know, drink your favorite soda, and just watch the sky and look for the Perseids, because when it shows, it's a good show, but hopefully the weather will be with us here soon.
Thanks a lot, Roxanne. That's great. Yeah, wonderful. So for folks around in that area, there's a great resource for you. But we're going to move from that section right now, from around that region, and we're going to go up into the northeastern portion of the state, a little bit up into the northeastern portion of the state. And I want to welcome Eric Locke from the Lehigh Valley Amateur Astronomical Society to join us to tell us a little bit about what observing is like up in that neck of the woods. Thanks for joining us, Eric.
You're welcome, and thanks, Derek, for including us in this wonderful event this evening, and to help people be exposed to the wonders of the night sky. So we're just up in Allentown, Pennsylvania. What's behind me on my screen here is our headquarters at South Mountain. We also have what we call a dark sky site out near Hamburg, PA, that's available to our members. So we're fortunate to have those things available, but to segue on what's been said already, tonight is just a backyard night. Grab that chair, go outside, look up at the sky, enjoy. I saw one of my first Perseids on Saturday evening, and it looked great streaking across the sky for that. So again, looking at, you know, what can we do in an area like mine that we have a fair amount of light pollution here, like you're going to have in the Philly region and all that. So fun things to do, actually, and even tonight would be a great thing to do, is let's go out and identify constellations. With the programs, there's lots of handheld things that you can get on your phone. You can grab the kids around and just have a whole lot of fun identifying not just the Big Dipper, but all the stars related, because the Big Dipper is actually the Great Bear to look at. So it's got more stars to it. So maybe a little bonus prize of a popsicle or something would be for the child who can say, ooh, I see all the other stars that are part of the Ursa Major, which is its official name. The planets, again, awesome time to look at, when we can look up tonight and see 3 different planets at the same time.
Say, Eric, is it okay for the adults to reward themselves too with some kind of an adult reward if they identify the constellations properly?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whatever reward you wish to have, it is there to be had. So it's a neat way also that you can work with children who have an interest. I have a young gentleman right now, he's about 7 years old, and he just loves the night sky. So I've given him some astronomical maps and some things, actually a map of our galaxy with a tiny little dot. That's actually where we sit in the galaxy. But teaching him constellations, which you can do literally, like I said, from your backyard. Other places nearby that you can go to kind of get away from the lights. Again, we have French Creek State Park, a little bit, 20, 30 miles to our south. We got Hickory Run State Park, which will be even substantially darker, about 20, 30 miles. Great places to go. You can still enjoy your campfires and all that type of thing. And just you walk out into the middle of the field and you just have fun just looking up. If you're fortunate to be able to see the Milky Way at the same time, you're looking out into our galaxy, the place where we live on it. And it's what's always fascinated me as just from a youngster is what's up there, what's behind, what's with that star, what's with that dust. If you're dark enough, some what we call naked eye or eye visible things would be maybe to see our next neighboring galaxy from the northern hemisphere, which is the Andromeda galaxy. You got to be kind of dark for that, which again, Hickory Run might be a little bit better than French Creek State Park. But again, you learn to position with stars, and then we use something called averted vision, where you don't look straight at something, and your little app that you'll have on your phone will kind of tell you where it is. You kind of look sideways at it, and your eye tends to absorb a little bit more when you use what's called averted vision, because that's the way the human eye is developed. But again, constellations are a wonderful thing to work on. It's a roadmap to learn. When I first got into astronomy, I learned that, wow, that's a roadmap. And if you know that roadmap, you can go find many things. Just even myself also, my great grab and go is a pair of binoculars as well. A tripod works out nicely for the bigger ones, but I had a ton of fun with binoculars on Saturday night, saw, a half a dozen different objects that, are seen from a semi-dark sky site. So get out there and have fun.
Say, Eric, tell us about your background there.
The background is the headquarters for the Lehigh Valley Amateur Astronomy Society. Again, our mission being serving the astronomical community of the Lehigh Valley region, or basically anybody within 30, 40 miles from here. We have monthly star parties when we're allowed to. And things improve and we can get back with people. We have a planetarium. We do things with scouting. I feel we're very fortunate in this region. We have a very, very active club. We'll sometimes have 70 to 80 people come to our public star parties to just, again, learn. We also help teach people. They can bring a telescope to learn how to, because it can be a little complicated right away. It's like, what do these gadgets do? What don't they do? And to just help them learn what's available. We do public outreach. I do a fair amount of speaking engagements, just to, again, help people understand what's up there in the night sky.
Very cool. Very cool. Thanks a lot, Eric. That's a great resource. I've done some work with LVAAS in the past, and it's a great group of people who are very enthusiastic about the night sky and absolutely chock full of all kinds of information to help anybody along who's interested in getting started. Yeah, very cool.
Absolutely. Thank you, Derrick.
Yep, sure. Okay, so now we're going to come down toward the center of the state, a little bit south of center of the state, out in a dark sky location where a brand new observatory has been opened recently. And folks, please welcome Al Ryan, who is the creator of the Muddy Run Observatory. Good evening, Al. Thanks for being with us.
Well, good evening, Derrick, and everyone, and thank you for having me. To say I'm the creator is a bit much. The observatory is a new observatory and it's managed by a group called the Rittenhouse Astronomical Society out of Philadelphia. And Rittenhouse is very old. It's the oldest or second oldest amateur astronomical society in the country. But its history has been through public education, primarily through lectures by visiting scientists and scholars. So the idea of observing is something fairly new to us. We're not as versed in it or experienced as the rest of the panel here. But some time ago, we fell in with a company called Exelon, and Exelon runs a power plant on the Susquehanna, and part of their license obligation is to provide public amenities, free public amenities. So for years, they've operated a park, the Muddy Run Park, and because of the dark sky location, they were convinced to go beyond just trails and recreation and the usual park stuff and put an observatory to take advantage of the dark skies. So they did that, and they asked Rittenhouse Astronomical Society to operate it and manage it. And for the last couple of years or so, we've engaged in a public outreach program with monthly open houses, various workshops and we're still in the process of building. So we don't have everything together yet, as perhaps Lehigh Valley does or Ash does, but we're trying to get there. And we've branched out, and pardon me, we've contacted other societies like Roxanne to help us out with certain things, Harford County Astronomical Society, and local groups. And we've put together a program that takes advantage of the facility. The facility has two large domes, two large telescopes inside. There's an amphitheater carved out with a large screen, a 24-foot screen, so that images can be projected to the screen for the crowd. It has an associated visitor center with a solar system gallery and a local group, images from the local group. And we have a huge cadre of trained educators, and we put on a show every month. That is pre-COVID we did. Right now we're shut down, but usually in August we have a big public gathering for the Perseid Meteor shower. We're not doing it this year, but I thought I would just briefly talk about some of the things we would do during that meteor shower. Not only do we have people who are pointing out constellations and asterisms in the sky, but we'd also have our telescopes. And by the way, we have an area where the public can bring their own telescopes, a huge area, and we often have at least a dozen or so telescopes that people have brought for their own use and to show other members of the public. And by the public, I mean generally on our open houses, we'd have anywhere from 25 to 300 people, depending on the weather and the conditions. So for the meteor shower in August, generally we'd supplement that with views of certain things. We'd have a naked eye object section where we'd point out things in the sky people can see without any optical aid, like the meteor shower, for example. Some of the other large objects, not just the planets, but as Roxanne has mentioned, the planets are very prominent and they look very good. And sometimes through the telescope, you get people who've never seen things like Saturn, and they'll come up to you and say, you must have painted that on the front of the scope because it can't be that real.
Right.
By the way, Derrick, Swift-Tuttle has a 133-year orbit, so we've got a ways to go before
Thank you very much.
Again.
Yeah.
So we point out things with the naked eye, like the Big Dipper and the Summer Triangle, and give a little talk about the various stars, the history, the lore behind things like the Big Dipper from various cultures. And then we move on and we have a group of people who talk about binocular objects that are popular, like the Ring Nebula, for example. It's difficult, but you can see it in a binocular. The Double and Lyra, objects like that are fairly standard for binoculars. And then we move on to telescopic objects and point out to people who haven't seen them things that they can see, like nebulas like the Trifid Nebula, for example, other planetary nebulas.
So Al, tell me, when you have these programs, you probably have a fair number of people who are beginners at this.
We do. We have, in terms of our visitors, they're almost all beginners.
So this is a really wonderful opportunity for anybody who's really new at this or just becoming interested to
Yes.
have a good experience, a positive experience at looking at the sky for the first time like this.
Yeah, we think so. We get an awful lot of kids, and we have kids groups come in too. We often have scout groups, school groups, various, younger age set kids. And they're all very fascinated, and it's great because you can just tell some of them are going to keep what they've seen here and carry it on further. One of the good things we've had is we had a couple of times we've had younger school-age kids come in, and we have speakers. And you were at one of the programs, Derrick. We had a speaker who's a young person, just finished college a few years ago, but looks like they were still in high school. And she was one of the people on the New Horizons mission, and she gave a wonderful talk about that. And she's also one of the people who's navigating for the OSIRIS-REx asteroid sampling mission. And she gave a wonderful talk about that. And you can see these young kids are saying, she's not much older than me. I could be doing that.
Well, I think that's really wonderful, Al, that the program at Muddy Run is so varied and can reach so many audiences. So as you said, I've been out there. It's a really wonderful location. I really highly recommend anybody to take a drive out there because it's a really gorgeous place and really great equipment and great programs happening out there. Thanks a lot, Al. Greatly appreciate it. So let's swing up now into the northwestern portion of the state and the western portion of the state and find out what's happening up there. I'm sure there's some really great skies when the sky is clear. And if there's an astronomy club anywhere up there or an astronomy education facility, that would really be helpful. Tim Spock, my good friend from Associated Universities Incorporated, is an astronomy education outreach specialist. And I'm glad you could be here with us this evening. Tim, tell us about what's going on up there in the Northwest.
Hey, Derrick, thanks a lot. It's great to be here. And, one of the things about Western Pennsylvania, in particular the Northwestern Pennsylvania, is we have lots of great sites to observe the night sky. Northwestern Pennsylvania can, you have to deal with some clouds and stuff that are coming off of the lake, and that can be a problem from at times. But it's actually been a beautiful summer here, lots of clear sky, and looking forward to actually even getting out tonight and checking out the Perseids, because we do have some clear sky here in northwestern Pennsylvania. So as far as things to get out there and look at, well, Roxanne, Eric, and Al, and yourself all kind of hit on those kinds of things to take a look at. I'll just add a few more. Something like just going out with binoculars and scanning the Milky Way for open star clusters. For me, that's one of my favorite things that I like to do. Unfortunately, I don't do it nearly enough, but just, taking the lounge chair out, pair of binoculars, have your favorite beverage, whatever that is, next to you. I prefer maybe not having music, just kind of listening to the sounds of nature. And sitting out there and just really stargazing. And as a kid, I used to do that because I grew up in northwestern Pennsylvania as well. I used to do that as a kid, and I always used to think, I'd go out there and look up at the stars and wonder who was looking back at me and asking the same sorts of questions that I was asking about the universe.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
And that was just always, incredibly inspiring for me. And to think about what else is out there in the universe. And we are such small creatures on such a small world, but yet we have such a big vision and a big mind to be creative and to think and to understand our place in many ways in the universe. And so to me, that was just, always fascinating to do that. But I mean, other things you can take a look at, of course, is in Hercules, the great globular cluster in Hercules. The double cluster, if you're heading looking toward Perseus anyways, I mean, the double cluster is in between Cassiopeia and Perseus. A great thing to kind of find with your binoculars.
And these are all easy targets that show up on star maps pretty easily, so that a beginner could probably find them with a pair of binoculars.
Exactly. And behind me is actually our new site, the Oil Region Astronomy Learning Center near Clarion, Pennsylvania. This is a new site which has we have a giant roll-off roof, 30-inch telescope, and a 14-inch Meade and a 14-inch Celestron. And unfortunately, COVID is keeping us closed these days, but we're really super excited about getting opening back up at some point in the future and really ramping up our outreach efforts. And you can see the field. This would be a great place to go observe the meteor shower. This is one location, but if we think about other places in Western Pennsylvania, we've got Allegheny National Forest, which is just filled with lots of great dark sky sites. You get up around Lake Erie, you do have Erie Bluff State Park, which is another great place for stargazing. You head down to the southwest. Pittsburgh is an astronomy heaven. There's a lot of great history. There's Allegheny Observatory there, but there's a great group of people there called the AAAP, the Amateur Astronomy Association of Pittsburgh. Has a large membership, and they actually have two observatories. They have Wegman Observatory in north of Pittsburgh, and in the south of Pittsburgh, they have Mingo Observatory. And these are places that are open to the public on a regular basis, and they do lots of great outreach activities. And so you definitely want to look them up. There's the Kiski Astronomers in the south. Also in the southwest, you also have the Laurel Hills State Park, which is another great place for observing. But again, what you want to do is you want to go out there and just during the day take a look at the map, do a drive out, check out the site. What's really critically important is make sure you understand the rules of the park that you might be going to. So it might be a county park, it might be a state park. Another great place to do this is in like the sports complexes at schools. Pretty much all the high schools in Pennsylvania, at least the ones I know, have a large football field. They have a sports complex area. Sometimes there's lights, but a lot of times you can find a little dark patch where you can do observing. Yeah. But definitely find those spots. Take your lounge chair out, your binoculars, your favorite beverage, as long as you're allowed to have that beverage on site wherever you are.
Good point.
But check out the rules. And if the park says, hey, we close at sunset, talk to the folks who manage it and say, look, it's a Perseid meteor shower. Could we be there, a little bit later? Could you make a special exception on this? A lot of these folks didn't know that was happening, and a lot of them would love to accommodate the general public so that they can enjoy the night sky and go out there and do those things that inspired you and I as little kids, looking up at those stars, wondering what's going on out there, wondering who's looking back at you. So
that's great, Tim. Thanks a lot. Those are some really good points. I love that idea about, checking out the athletic fields that might be around you someplace, and particularly about talking to the folks at the park to see if they might be willing to help you out so that you can hang out there at night. And, speaking of parks and all the parks that you mentioned out in the West, Tim, there's a list of parks that are on the Visit PA website as places that once they reopen will be great places to go out and look at the night sky. There's Cherry Springs State Park that Roxanne spoke about up in Coudersport. That's a really wonderful place. It's known as one of the darkest places in the state. I've been up there a few times, and it really is a dark location.
Darkest site east of the Mississippi, from what I've
heard. How about that?
People.
Pretty dark, right? There's Sproul State Forest in Renovo, 305,000 acres of stargazing bliss, they say. Tim, you spoke about Laurel Hill State Park down in Somerset. That seems to be like a really nice place to go. There's Racetown Lake in Heston, where things are really beautiful there. You can see the stars reflected off the water of the lake. That's really great. Sarah's Campground up in Erie. is one of those places that's also known as a great place to see a sunset. That's part of astronomy, watching a sunset, so that's pretty great. And Eric, you mentioned French Creek State Park. That's a great location too. So these are all places, you know, that are in our state, along with so many other places where people can actually go out and get a really great look at the night sky. And you know, when we have the opportunity to get out and go to the state parks again, consider some of these. You'll find them again on the Visit PA website. But this evening, our guests have given us so many great tips about objects we can look at in the night sky, or ways in which we can engage in observing the night sky. Hopefully, you've picked up some of these and you'll employ some of these as you get used to looking at the night sky. So I want to say thanks to my guests this evening, Roxanne Kamen, Al Ryan, Eric Locke, and Tim Spock. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. We greatly appreciate it, and we'll see you all again soon. So enjoy your evening out, folks, taking a look at the Perseid meteor shower, whether it's tonight or a couple of nights coming up soon. So folks, we have time before our program ends. We have time for just a couple of questions. If we have any questions from the audience, we'll be glad to take a couple of questions and answer those before we get out of here for the evening. So they've come in through the chat. So let's see what questions we have. I'm going to ask my executive director over here, my executive producer, my lovely wife, Linda. She'll give me the questions.
Indeed. First off, I'm going to give a shout out to all of the listeners and viewers from PA, New Jersey, and West Virginia.
Wow, fabulous. We have listeners from New Jersey, all across Pennsylvania, and West Virginia too. That's fantastic. Yay! Thanks for joining us. Hope you'll be able to use this information too. Of course, it's good for you too. So thanks for listening tonight.
What direction to watch for the Perseid?
So the question comes up, which direction shall I look for the Perseid meteor shower? Well, the Perseids seem to come from the northeastern portion of the sky where we find the constellation Perseus. However, you'll see Perseids all across the sky. It's just that if you were to trace the trajectory of these meteors back across the sky, you see one over in the west, that trace backwards might take you back to the constellation Perseus. So you can look to the northeast. That's good, but if that's not a good location for you to look because the sky's too bright, look in the direction where the sky is bright and see if you can see something that looks like it might be one of these Perseids. You can trace the path back across the sky to the northeast, and you'll know you have a Perseid. They're bright, they're fast, 60 to 90 per hour. So that's what you'll have during the shower, somewhere in there, depending upon what your skies are like. And then also just remember that on any clear night, you can see perhaps as many as 10 per hour. And what's up next, Linda?
Wharton State Park in New Jersey said to be a great place to view. So if you're wanting to shout out.
Oh yes, a shout out from a viewer that suggests Wharton State Park, the Wharton State Forest in New Jersey. Yeah, that's in the New Jersey Pine Barrens. That's a great location. I used to go over there to observe. You know, I hate to say it, I used to go over there to observe Halley's Comet back in 1985, 1986? Yeah, some time ago. But that was a good dark sky location. I've been out there observing. Thanks for that suggestion. What's up next? Oh, that's it. Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight, folks. We hope this program has been helpful to you and provided information you can use. Again, if you need a star map that you can have on your desktop or your laptop, try the Stellarium web online. That should be very helpful for you. We're thanking our guests again, Roxanne, Al, Eric, and Tim for joining us this evening. I want to say thanks very much to Visit PA and PA Tourism for hosting this program. We greatly appreciate that. And we hope you'll take the time to get out and observe the evening sky. Again, it's a wonderful way to decompress, de-stress a little bit, and contemplate the night sky. It gives you a chance to sort of like relax a little bit in this difficult era where we are right now. This is a great way for you to relax. Don't forget, take your friends out to look at the sky too. And
Website for Visit.
Oh yes, right. I almost forgot the website. Visit PA. Make sure you go visit the website, Visit PA, so you can learn all about the great stuff that's available to be done across the state. There's still plenty to be done right now. And it's visitpa.org. Visitpa.org. Make sure you go visit and check that out. Remember, I'm Derrick Pitts, Chief Astronomer at the Franklin Institute Science Museum. Thanks again for joining me. You can follow me on Twitter. @CoolAstronomer is my handle. I'll provide updates about the night sky, astronaut viewing, all kinds of cool things like that. Have a great August, folks. Get out and enjoy the sky while the weather's warm. And remember, it's your universe. Explore it. Thanks for joining us, folks. Take care. Hopefully we'll see you again on another one of these programs in the future.